What's up guys, it's Jason with Napier Photography in 3D, and today we're in the studio and I'm going to show you how to do your first initial calibration print with the Mosaic Palette Plus. Alright, so if you watched my Palette Plus, I guess review and opening and setup video, there was a lot of stuff that's happened between then and now, and so I'm really close to being set up completely. I'm really grateful to Johnny and Brennan over at Mosaic Manufacturing for helping me. So I've been emailing back and forth about some things, but one of the things that we talked about was that a lot of times there's just so much fear in gear, and you know, as you guys know, if you've got older parents or if you're just one of these people, a lot of people are so afraid of anything new. So with my channel and with me introducing the Palette Plus, I want to take the fear out of the gear, because really and truly, if I can figure it out, you can too. So today I want to help you through some of my struggles that I had and some things in setup that I can help you with. Man, I'm really excited to kind of help you get through some of that. So some of the things we're going to do today, I'm going to show you how to load filament into your Palette Plus. I'm going to show you how to actually load filament into your printer for your first calibration print, and I've also got a video that I'm going to show you where to get your calibration, your very first calibration print. And I'm going to tell you something really quick. I mentioned it and I'll say it in this little video. I think I did. I recorded it a couple of times. But if you go to YouTube and watch how to do your first calibration print, or you go in there and look at how to slice a model for the Palette Plus, do not watch that before you do your calibration print. Do not watch that, okay? I did that, and that's where all my trouble started, as far as not necessarily doing it the right way when I first calibrated, and I was confused. So don't do like I did. Get on there like a big nerd and watch that, because it'll have you setting up multiple processes, because you have to do that when you do multiple colors, but just not in your first calibration print, okay? It's going to ask you to load multiple colors in with a transparent color. I've already calibrated mine, so I'm not going to actually do the full calibration today, but I'm going to show you how to do it and help you through this. But your first calibration model is not going to have multiple processes. That's where I messed up, and so in my video right now I'm going to show you kind of how to get that really quick. Alright guys, so I'm going to try to help you out. If you have any questions, you go to Mosaic Manufacturing and you can send them an email and through their support. But I'm going to kind of help you in case you're having issues with your first calibration. I'm just going to jump in here really fast, show you. You can go to support. It's got tons of things in here where it talks about how your Palette Plus does multi-material printing and everything. But what I'm showing you is how to get on here and pull up your calibration print. So click support, go to resources, slide down here into prints, pull up your calibration print, and download that logo print. Once you do that, we're going to go back and download it into Simplify 3D or Cura or whatever slicer software you use. You're going to slice that, save it, send it over to Chroma 2.2 or 3 if you're beta testing like me. Once you save that, you're going to save 2 files, and then you're going to take that out, bring it to your 3D printer and your Palette Plus, and then we're in business. Now real quick, if you want to get any kind of questions answered, you go to contact us and you can email Mosaic Manufacturing. They will get back to you really quickly. Brennan and Johnny Yu, these two guys are, I mean, the whole company's amazing, but if you have any questions, you can go on to support and you can get things like that. You can go to support, you can go to their forum. There's all kinds of things on there. You know, they've got a community forum right here. They've got a resource page, support articles, setup guides. All the things you need are here on the website. So anyway, with that said, let's go back to the Palette Plus and let's load some filament and get your first calibration print done. Alright, so you see how easy that is, and you can pull that off of Thingiverse as well, and you can get that, and it's, even though it's a multicolor print as far as that goes, when you actually print this thing, you're going to see, hold on one second, I'll show you. It's going to print like this. I did a Squirtle for my first calibration print. If you watched my last video, okay, what it does, it just prints in 2 colors. Half of it's going to be one color and half is going to be the other. So that's pretty much what it does. So you don't actually have to have 4 colors in there for your calibration print, and you don't have to have 4 processes like it shows you in that video on YouTube. I'm not sure who did that video. It might have been Johnny, I'm not sure, but I watched that video, and so when I did my calibration print, I pulled in the model. I thought I had to give multiple processes to it, and I didn't do it right. So you don't have to do that. Just save it, like I told you, send it over to Chroma 3 or 2.2, whatever you're using, and save the 2 files and bring it into your printer. You're going to have one flash drive that goes into your Palette Plus, which is the Palette Plus SD card, and then you're going to have whatever SD card that you feed into your 3D printer. So I'm going to be coming back and forth, you guys. If you can see over my shoulder, I have a boom pole with a Rode mic. I also have my Sony a6000 above angle, just like I do with my unboxing videos and things like that. And I'm really sorry that I have this gigantic C-stand back here, but you just have to get over it. It's techie and nerdy, but it's going to look cool on video. So I'm going to be jumping back and forth to you guys, kind of show you how to do. The very first thing we're going to show you how to do is to load in that filament. Alright guys, before I actually jump on my print, I want to talk about 3 things, okay? Having a fixed place for your scroll wheel is super important. Don't mess up like I did. I tried to mount mine on the wall. I tried all these different ways to kind of make it work for me. You've got to set this thing up to where it has a fixed scroll wheel position, because everything basically is set up to where that has to be a fixed situation. And so I'm going to talk to you about the 2 other things that have to be set is your print value and your loading offset has to be precise every time you print, otherwise you're going to get bleeding. So your loading offset is the distance between your Palette Plus and the tip of your nozzle, okay? Your print value is how much filament your Palette Plus needs per millimeter to use for the print. So if you get those 2 things precise and it's something it knows every time, you're going to get perfect prints, and that's what we're going for. So let's get to the calibration print. I'm going to go over here to my above angle view here, and let's just see what's going on. Alright guys, so here we have my Palette Plus. I have 3 spools of filament here, and if you notice I have some little Hulk hands right here that let me back this off so y'all can kind of see it. I just didn't want my feet to be in the video the whole time. So I have these little Hulk hands, and you can get these from Thingiverse, but I have these, I basically did a cut in right here so I could hold this filament rod that they actually provide you with the Palette Plus when you get it. They have the 2 clips that you can clip inside the Palette Plus box, which if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see that's the way you can actually put it in the box and do your filament that way, and it spins out. Now if you notice, even though my sticker is facing the right way, the way I had to set mine up, it's upside down. So my words will be upside down, but hey, no big deal. So let me talk to you about a couple things. Okay, this is we're trying to make sure everything's set. This is your scroll wheel right here. Now if you notice, I've got some tape on mine because this is a scroll wheel mount that I printed from Thingiverse. Thanks to Johnny U for suggesting that I do this. It gives me a little distance away from my printer, and I do have some janky tape here, but this is your scroll wheel. This is a Teflon tube, and yours will probably come with a longer Teflon tube on this side as well, and you have a shorter one that you can use which will connect there. Now I took mine off, but I have a fixed scroll wheel position, okay, so the distance will be the same all the time for me. And the reason I took my little short Teflon tube out is because when I try to load things with that Teflon tube in the way, it's kind of gets in my way. But as long as the value of the distance from my Palette Plus to my printer stays the same, and having this locked on to that's my Z, and you guys will, when that goes up and down, if it's locked, the position won't change, and all that stuff sets it up. So basically, when you get your Palette Plus, you're gonna do a calibration print. So go ahead and get your scroll wheel mounted. Mine goes right there. Okay, see how that's locked in position right there, and this is your Teflon tube. Now when you do your setup, you want to make sure that this is a huge part of having a good calibration for this, is make sure that you have a position that you put it every time, so that one, the distance between this Teflon tube and this tube here is the same every time. And what you really want is this inserts through here. But let's talk about this magnet. this magnet right here, okay, this is really what signals your Palette Plus when the distance between this Teflon tube it pushes it away. So basically this magnet, as it gets closer to your Palette Plus, it tells the Palette Plus to go ahead and start splicing other filament to send it to the extruder. So now with mine, I have messed up and I mounted this thing the wrong way, and a lot of people have, because when you unbox this thing, you basically, sometimes you will you get it all set up and you've knocked the I'm sorry, let me do this real quick. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going ahead and preheat. This is a CR10S, and what I'm doing is I'm preheating mine up to like 210 because I have filament from my last print in my little tube here, and so I want to go ahead and get that kind of heated up so I can actually take that out. And I'm going to show you how to take that out. Now I go ahead and preheat this up. I put mine on like 208 or 210, and then I set my bed temperature to 60 degrees, which is pretty much what everybody does with theirs. But let's get back to this magnet while that's heating up, and then I'll show you how to get rid of this filament that's in there so you don't get a clog in your extruder. Now if you're hearing something going, I'm actually printing some of the parts for my Thor hammer right now. So okay, there's two sides to this. I'll let this focus, okay? Okay, there's a side with a little concave side, and there's a flat side, okay? And there really is a right and wrong way to mount this, okay? So what you want is you want the flat side facing towards your 3D printer, and you want this little concave side to be facing towards your Palette Plus, because the magnetized portion will register with your Palette Plus and tell it when you need filament. So now what you're going to do is this fits right over this tube here, and I'm going to show you why this makes a huge difference. You want to make sure that this has the ability to, sorry, let me fix this. I've got my LED things here kind of in the way, so let me move my remotes here. Alright, so you want to make sure that this is free moving so it can push away. So if anything's in the way, you want to make sure that when you set yours up, that you have a way to get everything out of its way, because you want this to be able to move freely as it has to push away from your, has to be able to push away and stop, because as it gets distance away from it, it'll stop sending filament, and as your filament goes back through the tube, it'll shorten and it'll tell it when to send more filament. So very first thing we're going to do right now is I'm going to pull this to me so I can actually get close, and I'm assuming you've already set up your printer, you've already, you know, leveled your bed, you've already got everything done, and if you haven't done that, just make sure you do that. That's important. But I'm going to be using this clear filament today. Not clear filament, I'm going to be using this white filament today as my clear, because I used all the clear when I did my calibration prints. I actually had to do 2 or 3 again. Like I said, I messed mine up and didn't do it correctly several times, and so that was not good. Now, real quick, if you see, this is where I pulled this out of my 3D printer. I've got a little bit of stringing here. You want to make sure that that's flat. You don't want to have that to be any kind of points or anything like that. So basically, what we're going to do is you're going to go into your calibration. You're going to click a printer calibration. Now, I'm going to tell you that I am absolutely not going to do another calibration print, but what I'm going to show you how to do is a multicolor print, okay? Because I've already done this, and I really don't want to do it again, because mine is very, very close. So I'm actually going to go into multicolor print, but it's pretty much the same thing. Okay, this is a let's see, I'm going to do, let me go down here to a let's do a 3-color demo. Okay, so this will take the place of my calibration print, and in loading it's the exact same way, just so you know. It'll tell you when to load the clear filament, it'll tell you when to load your other filament, and when you actually save this in your chroma settings and in your, you can change the colors and it'll tell you which one to load. It'll say load this, load that. Now mine's upside down, so I'm going to be feeding it underneath this and around, and so it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4 that way. So I'll kind of show you how I do this. So I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, it's going ahead and cutting away anything. It's clearing all my output. So if I had anything in my output, it would clear that. But mine's already done that. So it's saying load your first one. So basically what I'm going to do is reach up. You see my head. And basically I'm going to load this into one. Okay. And it's feeding it in there. Okay. It pulls it in. As you can see, it's pulling in the white filament. Okay, now it's saying load 2. So what I'm going to do is grab my second color and do that. You guys are getting to see this kind of live. I'm going to load my second color. Okay, and I'm going to just bring this up, pull this through, and go through to my second. So it pulls it right in. Okay, from my other spool, and then it's saying load input 3, so I'm going to load my input 3. Really simple. Pulling that out, load that underneath, come up, and this does the same thing when you're doing your calibration print. Okay, so there's 3. Alright, so it's pulled in all the colors. If you can see that all the colors are fed in. Okay, and it's ready to go. Okay, start up. It's complete. It's saying hold the magnet against the thing. So when the magnet is far away, if you can see, when the magnet gets too far away, it stops doing anything. So when you push that up, I'm going to show you something. Okay, if you got this reversed and you try to do it reversed, you'll see why this is not working. So if I try to do this reversed, nothing. Okay, so that's with the flat side. See that? That's the flat side. That's not what you want, okay? You want that concave side. So if it falls off when you guys are doing your setup, just make sure you use that little concave side facing your palette plus 2. Okay, so you feed that in there, and basically what that's going to do, it says hold it, and the reason you want to hold that is that it's going to actually send filament out once it's doing its splicing. Okay, it goes through and it splices the colors together, and it'll feed it and go to the scroll wheel. Okay. So you're going to hold that, and sometimes, like I say, if your scroll wheel's a little off inside, sometimes I had to take my face off once to let the filament go through because I had a bad edge, and that's why you want to make sure when you feed those through, you've got nice 90-degree cuts, because you don't want that to be, you don't want that to kind of have a point and get curled up in there and mess up. So once it kind of goes through this, it'll do, it says 184 of 230. It's splicing, which is, you know, it's going to set everything up so it can splice the colors together. So it heats it up, and basically it takes all the colors and creates one color, just like that. And so it splices those together. I'll show you what that looks like. So this is what it will look like. Okay, if you guys can see that. Okay, it basically splices those two colors together. It forms one filament strand. So based off what you're printing, depending on what you're printing, okay, these lengths could be different depending on if you've got a huge section that's going to be orange or a huge section that's going to be black. But in your calibration print, it's going to be really simple. Don't pick something complex like I did. When I did my Squirtle, it took a long time to do it. And you don't want your calibration print to take a long time. So now it'll tell you if you need to hold it. So if it starts coming out and it stops it, you just need to readjust and hold the magnet there for a second until it gets it. But anyway, I chose this, and I probably shouldn't have. I probably should use the flat one because it was much easier when I chose one that was flat. But this is a huge thing a lot of people are having issues with. And okay, so now you can hear it. It's starting to hold. See, it says hold the magnet to keep making filament. And if you look down, you'll start seeing, I don't know if you can see it, but see, I'm seeing colors coming out. So it's about right there right now. So it's splicing another section, okay? It's going to do another splice, and then it'll send it through here. Now when it gets to here, what I like to do is let it come out. See, you'll notice I still have filaments here hanging out. So the reason I preheated, okay, I preheated this so I can send some filament out of my extruder and then pull it out quickly. So what you want to do is to make sure you don't get a clog. You want to push a little filament through and get some free-flowing filament coming through. That's why you preheat this ahead of time. Get some filament going through, and then once you get it going nice and smooth out of it, pull back quickly and get it out of the extruder really quick, and that way you don't have that much stringing. So I'm going to show you guys kind of how that works in just a minute. But what I want to do is make sure this is coming out of here first, and then I'll let it back off, and I'll show you how to pull that out. Now, I will tell you one thing that with a 3D print that I've noticed, I don't know if you guys, but all these little pieces of, see how I tried to push away, and all I did was kind of push it back towards the Palette Plus. So you want to hold it firmly against that, and you want to make sure when you're doing anything with this that you don't bend this thing over during setup when you're trying to put it somewhere. Be very aware of that tube that's coming out of your Palette Plus, because if you crimp it, you may have to end up replacing it later, because it'll actually, okay, now you can see I've got filament coming out of there. So if I had it mounted with a Teflon tube, I could shoot that through there. But if you're like me, a lot of you guys, okay, I'm going to go ahead and let it start. So basically, I'm going to let it push away right there and kind of stop, because I've already got enough right here. I'm going to show you guys how to get this out of the extruder. So basically, I'm going to push through and get some filament coming through quick, nice and smooth, and then I'm going to pull it out fast. Okay, so I have a little bit of stringing there, but what that basically means is I got enough filament out there, and I'll have a big long string going out, so you don't get this huge excess, or you don't get a huge clog in your tube. So now that I've got that clear, I like to keep a pair of pliers around, and what I do is I just clear away all of that filament that comes out so it doesn't clog up my nozzle. And you need a good pair of tweezers, something you can pull that filament out. So now, at this point, it's telling me to slide the magnet towards to make filament, but I'm going to have to feed this through. And if you guys have a CRS-10, okay, you know you have to feed this thing through, and you have to push this little clamp to get filament to go through. Now, I will say this. When you push this little clamp, if y'all can see that right there, when you push that clamp, if it doesn't want to go through there to this, what I've had to do is take it off and cut a little angle and then work it in there and then push that through. Now, with this tube here, there's a little gold clasp here where it screws in. If it doesn't want to come out of that tube there, I just unscrew this piece right here, get the filament coming through, and then slide it back on over that filament and tighten it back down. Okay, now what I'm doing now is I'm just feeding this thing through, and you notice that it's pulling the magnet close. Okay, as it gets close, you'll hear it. See, now it's starting to push more filament through. See, and I'm just pushing this through this little tube until it gets to the actual nozzle. Okay, so now look. It's saying here, load filament in. It says 165 millimeters, then press enter. Alright, so we had a little bit of a malfunction. My battery on my A6000, I thought it was full, but it wasn't. So what's happened is I've basically fed the filament in until the countdown on my Palette Plus started beeping, like it's doing right now. And basically that's telling me how far to feed it in. Now, in your initial calibration, let's talk about something here. Okay, if you're using the clear filament and you're pushing that in, okay, when you push, it'll say push so much of that clear filament through until the color changes. You want to stop the minute the color changes. You don't want to keep pushing through until it's really dark orange, because your load offset and print value will be messed up and your calibration will be off. And that's a mistake that I made. That's a mistake that a lot of other people make. So you want to make sure as soon as that color changes, for you, you want to stop. Now, I'm at a point now where the Palette Plus is telling me to stop, and because I pushed the filament in far enough, and I don't know how long my video stopped when I was loading that in, so hopefully that got caught on there when I was loading it. All I did was load it until the number on the Palette Plus got to 0 and started beeping to tell me to stop. That's what you'll get once you've calibrated. Now, you will not get that when you do your first calibration. It will not beep like that for you. Okay, that's only after you've calibrated it. So you have to pay close attention when you're pushing that clear through, that you stop the minute whatever color. So you want to make sure whatever your second color is behind that clear is something dark and bold. I would suggest black. Don't use a yellow or an orange because that's just way too light. You won't see that color change as drastically as you will a dark color like a blue or a red or a black. So use a really dark contrasty color behind your clear filament on your calibration, and that way you see it the minute it starts getting a little bit hazy. Okay, because I used orange the first time, and so it was really difficult to see that clear transition over. It started looking a little milky. The minute it starts looking a little milky, and a good way to do that is just to get your cell phone the first time you calibrate. Put your cell phone light next to your 3D printer and kind of shine it so you can kind of see that color change really quick. So mine's beeping right now. It's telling me to stop, says it's ready to go. So let's go back. So now we're at the point where it says stop loading the filament. And like I said, you will not get this beeping on your calibration, okay? It'll just tell you to load until the clear stops and your other color starts to come out. So just ignore this noise right now because yours will not do that in calibration, okay? But as you can see, the distance here, mine is the same distance as my Teflon tube, but I just wanted to be able to manipulate my filament. And with having a fixed scroll wheel, I know that distance will not change. So now, I'm going to go ahead and let this thing do its thing. I'm going to kind of, it says stop loading and press enter, okay? Your confirm loading, I'm going to say yes, okay? Okay, now it'll tell you to hit print on your 3D printer at that point, and then you're good to go. Okay, and it's basically the second file you saved on your 3D printer. You're going to print that. They usually show up first, and that's pretty much how you do it. So that's going to get you through your first calibration, guys. It's going to, once you get that, you're gonna program your offset value or your offload value or your load offset and your print value into Chroma. There'll be a box that pops up for you guys to load that in, and then basically it's set up for everything after that. And then you'll be at the point that I'm at where it'll tell you when to stop loading the filament or when to load it, when to stop, and then that's going to help you get your filament set up and ready to go. So I'm not going to make you guys watch this because I'm not printing this. I'm going to offload all that, but I just want to kind of show you guys how to load that and talk about the magnet. That's really the important part, is how to adjust the magnet and make sure that you don't have any distance. Make sure you have a distance on your setup that allows for this free magnet movement. I tried to have mine flipped this way so it would feed out this way, but it didn't work for me. So whatever works for you, if you want to push it flat and have it go that way or whatever, I don't have a problem with this being upside down. In the future, I'd love for them to be able to make this monitor to be able to flip so I can actually have it this way, but I'm sure that's something that'll happen in a firmware update in the future. But like I said, just make sure your magnet's flipped the correct way. Make sure that you have the correct distance. Make sure your scroll wheel's mounted and locked position. So that's why I taped that so it wouldn't spin or do anything like that. It would stay in the same spot all the time. I'm going to make another little clip there that holds that in place so it doesn't move. But pretty much that's it. And if that gets stuck, you just pull that front plate off and you can feed it through and then put your clips back on. If you're having issues with your Teflon tube, one tip that I gave was tape the end of a screwdriver or the tool that they give you, and stick it in the tips of the Teflon tube and kind of rotate it around until it opens up the lip a little bit, and then just clip it back in there. Don't push it into the scroll wheel because then it just clamps it back down. Pretty much that's it, guys. And from there, you guys are pretty much ready to go. You got your calibration print. From now on, when you slice things and bring it into Chroma 3 or 2.2, it's going to show you your transition tower. It's going to tell you your time it's going to take and everything. And here's a little tip. You can actually move your transition tower that you're going to see once you get it all programmed in and you start doing prints. I didn't know you could move it. And Johnny told me all you got to do is click on it and it'll say move it around. You can slide that around on Chroma and move it to a better position on your print bed. So that's just a little tip for today. I've got you guys loaded. Remember, make sure your magnets pointed the right direction, and make sure you get your very first calibration print set up correctly. Remember, stop the minute you start seeing that change of color, and you should be awesome, guys. You should get up and printing. So anyway, that's it for today. I think we knocked it out of the park. Anyway, this is Jason with Napier Photography in 3D. I'll talk to y'all soon.